Hey, what's going on, everybody? Huge thank you to our YouTube top tier member, Freak Maniac at that world champ level. Triple Crown and Grand Slam are available. But listen, I know they're kind of expensive, but you can join for as little as I think $1 or $5. All that donation on the YouTube side helps the channel grow and keep the lights on with a lot of things. You can also support the channel via Patreon or tips and donations in the link tree below. Merchandise is also still available. TeePublic has over 250 different logos. So whether you're into horror movie, pop culture, if you're into the Schuylkill County scene and you like a bunch of that stuff, you should definitely go check it out. But a lot of cool t-shirts that you can get to support the Tornado Tag podcast. So hopefully you guys go over and check that out. We maybe have some new Tornado Tag stuff coming pretty soon. But well, thank you guys for all that continued support. Here's some music by the Converse Kid, and let's get this show started. What's going on, everybody? We are back. ABJ Podcast ABJ presents Tornado Tag, episode 148. What If? Our beginning of the What If series, where we take a show, a storyline, a moment in wrestling history, and just turn it on its head. And then BP goes through and rebooks the entire situation. And I'm really excited to see how this turns out. But this episode and the first episode of What If is going to be if Ric Flair in the WWE or WWF in 1988.
Put the F back in. Put the F back in.
We put the F back in tonight. That's the first thing we're doing with this rebooking is the F's back.
Yeah.
We F'd it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're doing that, and then we're gonna go through.
We F'd the S out of the E, so it's gone.
Yeah. We F the so hard it left. Yeah. And now we're back. We're effing back.
Yeah.
So thumbnail wise, I worked pretty hard on some of these past episodes. Let's do that because that's what my computer wanted to do. If you want to check out our episode with Sunny DeFarge, my episode with Sunny DeFarge doing Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Rojas from Catchpoint Wrestling, Courtney was just on doing some Terrifier 2, and Pedro Vasquez, who did an independent film series on an independent short film. And some of the actors in that BP we know very well. The two main actors of this was Ian Bush and Matt Quay.
Oh, I know those guys.
Yeah, and then
I might see one of those guys
Lost
next
Boys
week.
are in it. It was a pretty cool thing. It should be. I was supposed to go today to Philly, but last night was a real long day, so I wasn't able to go do that. But it will be available on YouTube, and as soon as it is, I will put it up there for people. Next week, Tornado Tag Sunday, probably 9:00. Maybe later if I don't get back in time. I'm going to Pride that day, but we're going to be doing an episode of reviewing the movie Body Slam.
And this is
go ahead.
That is one that is interactive for you in the audience. This isn't something that's paywalled. You can watch the movie Body Slam on Tubi. You don't have to pay for it. So between now and next Sunday, watch Body Slam. It's not a good movie, but it's an interesting movie, and it's a movie that it has a special place because you know those movies you watched a million times when you were a kid.
Yeah,
that's Body Slam for me.
Yeah, mine is definitely Beetlejuice.
Oh, I had a bunch. The biggest one was probably Spaceballs, but Body Slam is up there. Spaceballs, Body Slam, UHF. There's quite a few of them.
I haven't watched UHF and Spaceballs in so long. It would probably be like watching it all over again.
UHF is a good one.
And then the following Sunday after that, we'll be doing Abdullah the Butcher, the history of. We haven't done one of those in a little bit. And then we're gonna do another show review starting in July. We're gonna do King of the Ring 95.
Oh no!
And then we're bringing back What If, and we're gonna rebook King of the Ring 1995 and make it good.
I only suggest that we do King of the Ring 95, so you will have a full understanding of why I have had such a hatred for that show. For the 5 years we've been doing this now, you will understand very soon why I have had such a deep-seated hatred for that pay-per-view.
So, besides that, what have you been doing with yourself, man? What's been going on with in the world of BP?
I had a busy day of my own yesterday. I was at PPW for a long day, but a fun day. A long day, but a fun day. We launched our new pre-show Spark, which is something fun that I don't really see a lot of places doing. So basically, if you've ever been to PPW, there's a big farmers market that the venue is located within. And like a few months ago, we noticed, hey, there's a stage out front, like right by the door where people come in. So we're like, why don't we do a pregame show for the people who are waiting to go in the building and for people who might be happening by just so they can get excited about the wrestling that's going on. We debuted it this week or yesterday. It was live on YouTube, so we had a great time with that. And then had a great night of action with Free Fallen. One of the things, and you know how sometimes there's things that are like just moments that hit you. There's just moments that hit you on a deeply personal level. And since we started doing stuff at PPW 3 years ago, just about when they reopened after the pandemic, the one person that has been closer to my side in that place than anybody has been Tom Mitchell. I started at that place filming the promos that he was shooting with the rest, like the talent. Fast forward 3 years, and I have gotten a lot more responsibility there. And Tom just won the No Limits title, his 100th match, his first singles title, and it was a moment. It hit me right in the feels. It hit me right in the feels to see that happen.
Yeah, and that means if you're on the Tom trajectory, you start training soon.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I gotta get in much better shape. I gotta get about 10, 15, 20 years younger. And
I mean,
I too could be the No Limits champion.
Do you? Yep. Do you need to?
Hey, touche.
If anything's possible, baby. Especially in the wrestling scene, anything can get done. You know,
some things are not possible. Some things are not possible. That is a lie. Some things are not possible.
Yeah, and then I was at New Era Pro Wrestling. I had to do double duty. BP. I did commentary and I did ring announcing. I only got in the ring one time the whole night. I wasn't getting it back and forth the whole time. That's way too much, and not about to do that. So I just did it from my seat. So we did that. It was a lot of fun. I got to work with Luca Mancini again, and then also I worked with JS Michaels from the 570 Experience, and then Kit Raff joined me for a match, which is a lot of fun because I loved Kit Raff a lot. So yeah, they had a great show that should be coming out very soon. That means Rem lost his No Limits.
Yes, unfortunately, Rembrandt did not get pinned, but Rembrandt's No Limits title reign has come to an end. But I think we're just seeing the beginning of something for Rembrandt here. Yeah. I don't think he's going to take this loss lying down. I think the best is yet to come for Rembrandt.
Kid Ref, rated R. Lewis. There they are. What's going on?
No, we don't talk about him anymore.
No,
we don't talk about him.
Yeah. Good call. Cut that. That one actually hurt me a lot because that person really was in my corner, and I didn't have a lot of people in this business who were, and that one's conflicting, right? Because obviously people were affected and hurt, but your personal experience wasn't always what everybody else's were, you know?
That is very true.
Man, stuff gets hard in this business sometimes. Yeah. So let's talk. Anything else you want to talk about or plug? I mean, current wrestling stuff. I haven't watched a wrestling pay-per-view this month. I haven't watched King of the Ring. I haven't watched AEW. I haven't watched Clash at the Castle. I haven't watched the NXT Takeover or the NXT where they did the
Battleground,
TNA, the Battleground. I haven't seen anything. I know Marigold just had something. New Japan just had Marigold had something. New Japan just had something. There's a lot going on.
Triple Mania is the big thing for AAA, and it's a 3-night pay-per-view like WrestleMania is 2 nights, except they're like in different months. One is in like April, one is in like June, and one is in like September.
Yeah.
So this was
so I'm way behind on pro wrestling. I know next paycheck I am resubscribing to TNA. And possibly ROH streaming, so we can add more to the arsenal when it comes to watching old shows. And maybe if we can have some fans like you guys in the chat can recommend some old ROH or maybe some old TNA or some Impact or WCW, ECW, WWE, doesn't matter. We have a pretty good range of shows that we can go back and redo and rewatch.
I might have worked with a guy that knew a thing or two about Ring of Honor last night. But have had a chance to talk to somebody who knows a thing or two about that place.
Yeah, he showed up again.
Brian Johnson, I mean, the Mecha.
Oh, I thought you
no.
I thought Kerry came back.
No, I did. I'm kidding. Yeah. Always a pleasure to see him.
Oh,
Always
I
a
love
pleasure
him.
to see
Love him to
Kerry.
death. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. So we have some cool things coming. The streaming thing, I'll kind of plug this out because it is wrestling related. I will be live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and now Thursdays. When I get my next paycheck. Probably won't be Thursdays right away, but maybe July more. But Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Don't guarantee always, because if something's going on at Pilgrim on a Thursday, I'm going to be there and not do my streams because I like taking less breaks on the wrestling and content and being around my friends and family because that's important to me. But
Work-life balance.
Yeah, and on Tuesdays, I have a new camera coming, so I'm going to be recording ahead a little bit and getting interviews, not always live, and like reviews that I'm recording on my own and put those up. So days I can just take a week off and enjoy myself or record stuff in between. But so the only time I'll pretty much be live is like Tornado Tag and like the watch streams. Like all my live stuff will be wrestling related, and all the interviews and everything will probably go to pre-recorded soon. But so where was I knew there was a point to this. Tuesdays, Fridays and Saturdays, not always though, so don't hold them there, but that's the days we're going to be doing switching. Lily will be live on Witchcraft with Lily, and she'll be watching and doing watch-alongs with wrestling and talking about fashion. So it's been a lot of fun to see her do her stuff. She just did NXT and she did SmackDown and Rampage on Friday. So, and she didn't do Collision because we went to a wrestling show that night.
She got that Dio Bando looking like $1 million.
Yeah.
Not that he didn't already.
Yeah. Oh, that new jacket.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah, her gear is really fun.
Big win last night for him. He was in a 3-way match and he got a win over Griffin McCoy and Big Dan Champion.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's turn back time. Let's get in our time travel, and let's go back. And I actually still have that logo of us in the DeLorean. Maybe we could use that for the what if, like us going back in time, like Rick and Morty.
The kayfabe time machine, right? The kayfabe.
The kayfabe. Well, there's no kayfabe time machine written on it. I just have the us in the time machine, so we can.
That logo was so damn cool.
I think we're gonna. I'll probably add a Rick and Morty font to it and be like Tornado Tag What If. And like us traveling back through different dimensions and doing the what if thing.
I like it.
I'm into that. I think we just found use for that art that was never ever used. We just did it. We cracked the puzzle. That's it. Lily, message Alex. Tell him to get you that photo. Let's get that in use. But all right, let's dive into our very first episode of What If.
So this is going to be very much rooted in what we think is fact. Obviously, it's just we're going off the recollections of other people. So Ric Flair, and I had to, and I was going to bring it over with me, and I totally forgot to grab it. But Ric Flair has said many times, and it was in his book, that in 1988, he was not completely happy with his role in Jim Crockett Promotions. The company was struggling. The company was losing a lot of money. His personal relationship with Jim Crockett, which was always very strong. Jim Crockett was the best man at his wedding. Well, one of his many weddings. His second wedding, he was the best man there. That had been strained a bit, and very much so his relationship with Dusty Rhodes, who was the man in charge, the booker, the guy who kind of ran the day-to-day wrestling operation for Jim Crockett, was very strained. To the point where, at the end of 1988, Dusty was going to have Ric Flair drop the title to Rick Steiner in 5 minutes because he was going to try to push Rick out. But then Dusty got pushed out because what happens is Ric Flair was given an offer at some point in 1998 or 1988. I couldn't nail down an exact time, but he was given an offer to join the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation. Who the WWF was about to have their third big pay-per-view. So you had WrestleMania. We had just passed WrestleMania 4. And they had started the Survivor Series in 1987, the year before. But in 1988, they're starting a third pay-per-view, SummerSlam. And Vince McMahon wanted the first main event of SummerSlam at Madison Square Garden to be the new WWF champion, Macho Man Randy Savage, who just won that WrestleMania 4 tournament for the title against the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And Flair supposedly entertained the offer, gave it some thought, didn't want to leave his friends, decided to stay loyal to Jim Crockett Promotions, and didn't take the deal. But when we hop into that DeLorean, we're going to go back. Ric Flair signs on the dotted line, and he's jumping. he's jumping. And we're going to mainly focus on the WWF side because this was a lot of work, and this would be a 3-hour show if we did both sides of this.
Yeah, we're not rewriting what happened in WCW. We're just going to rewrite what happened in the WWE in 1988.
The NWA / Jim Crockett Promotions. This is before WCW ever existed. Maybe because of this, WCW never does exist. Is another step in that.
So that's how it happens. That just crumbles to the ground.
Well, actually, no. We'll save that.
Okay. I'm pumped.
So, but yeah, Jim Crockett was really eager to sell, and Turner was eager to get out, and Turner Ted Turner wanted to buy it, but one of the conditions was I need Ric Flair. So if Ric Flair jumps, that is very tenuous now. So we're actually going to start. We're going to start in the NWA. We're going to start on July 10th, 1988. Not only is it 10 days before my 5th birthday.
But real quick, we're not going to Orson Welles anybody here. What you're about to hear didn't actually happen. Aliens did not invade. Ric Flair does not jump. This is 1988 for you listening at home in your cars and your T model, whatever the hell happened at that time. This is all.
They didn't have Model Ts in 1988. My dad had a T-Bird. Who knows? My dad had a T-Bird in 1988.
So we're gonna have some fun here and dive through it.
So we're gonna start with the Great American Bash, the Price of Freedom. We're not gonna go through the whole card, just what's kind of germane to this story. And if Ric Flair's leaving, we're not gonna pull what happens when he actually does leave 3 years later in 1991. He's gonna do business. He's gonna get the deposit back for the NWA World Title, and Lex Luger is gonna defeat Ric Flair on July 10th, 1988. To win the NWA World Title. That's where we're starting here. But that's just the beginning, because now we're going to flip over to the WWF. And you got to think back. This is 1988. There is no Raw. There is no SmackDown. There is no... Your main shows are Superstars. Your B show is Wrestling Challenge. And the only show that even remotely resembles modern television is Saturday Night's Main Event. That was the only show where you would have like top-level stars really wrestle one another.
Yep.
So we got to, I did try my best, and I'm going to try to not be self-referential too much in this. I did try to make this plausible. We're not going to have people going through tables in 1988 at the WWF. We're not going to have 3-way matches. We're not going to do anything.
You're going to keep to the time frame.
I'm going to try to make this not just what I think would be a fun thing to have happened, but it's plausible. It could have gone this way.
You know what you already have sparked in my head, and I hope I'm not burying the lead here.
Okay.
The set of Saturday Night Main Event. You got Mean Gene on one side, you got Bobby on the other, and right in between them as a special guest cutting a promo, like an old NWA promo, Mid-South promo, is the Nature Boy. Just right in between.
Are you talking about Primetime Wrestling? Or
sorry, Primetime. No, Primetime. Or no, I thought that was Saturday.
Saturday Night's Main Event was just a regular show. Okerlund
sorry. You're talking about Primetime Wrestling. Yes,
and that was Bobby.
I'm a little cross-faded right now. Yes, but Primetime Wrestling with Mean Gene and Gorilla, and right in the middle is Ric Flair.
It was Bobby Heenan and Gorilla.
Yeah, Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan in the middle. Him in the middle of those two cutting a promo as an introduction would be fucking crazy.
Unfortunately, I did not, because they didn't really use primetime like that back then.
Gotcha.
They mainly did their big angles on other shows. They would do some angles, like the big angle I think they did at one point was like the Brooklyn Brawler attacked the Red Rooster and he hit Gorilla with a stool too. But Primetime was more of like a recap show, and they would show matches from like house shows or that they taped. It was very much like a Wrestling Challenge level show. They didn't really start doing huge angles on Primetime Wrestling until the later stages of it. Like when Randy Savage came back, that was on Primetime Wrestling. When Mr. Perfect turned babyface, it was on Primetime Wrestling. But in this era, in 1988, 1989, we're even going to go into 1990 a little bit, they didn't really use Primetime Wrestling like that.
Gotcha.
So what they did use like that, though, was Superstars. Superstars was their main weekly show. It was their #1 syndicated show. And on July 23rd, 1988, so we're only a little less than 2 weeks removed from that Great American Bash, where Ric Flair drops the NWA World Title to Lex Luger, Randy Savage, the WWF champion, and Elizabeth comes on the Brother Love Show. And you got to remember, back at this point, pay-per-view was big, but the business, the money, is house shows. They're in a new city every night. They're working 350 nights a year. The money is in those house shows. So Randy Savage is on the Brother Love show, not to promote a pay-per-view, not to promote a match on TV, but he's talking about how he's going to be wrestling Ted DiBiase across the country. Well, not across the country. He's just going to cut a promo on Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Because that was literally the house show program at that point with Savage and Ted DiBiase. But while this is happening, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Ted DiBiase, there's a few people, Ted, and I'm sorry, Randy, that might be taking a little bit of a slight back seat here. But we've got other plans for him. They're still in the works.
Yeah.
So as Macho Man is there with Elizabeth and talking about Ted DiBiase, I beat you at WrestleMania 4. I'll beat you again. Yeah. Bobby Heenan comes out with Andre the Giant. He says, I just so happened to speak with Ted DiBiase backstage, and he agreed to a monumental proposal that I gave to him. Because but when Ted DiBiase beats you, Randy Savage, he's agreed to give my man the title shot. Will you do the same? Randy Savage eyes up the Giant. Big man, anytime, any place, yeah. And Bobby Heenan just kind of cackles a little bit, and he says, I never said anything about Andre the Giant. I never said anything about Andre the Giant. I'm not challenging you on behalf of the Giant. I'm not challenging you on behalf of some two-bit ham and egger. I'm challenging you on behalf of the greatest wrestler in the world, a man who has been a real world champion many times over. I'm challenging you on behalf of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Randy Savage thinks it over. He's still got to earn it. He's never. If I do the Savage impression all day, I'm going to kill my voice.
Yeah.
He's still got to earn it. He's never been in the WWF. He's still got to earn it. Randy Savage freaks out, but from behind, Ric Flair comes in, chop block to the back of the leg, attacking Randy Savage's knee, laying the boots in. The Giant is keeping everybody at bay, takes Brother Love's podium, breaks it over Randy Savage's knee. It's the old, as I won't say the Gorilla Monsoonism because it's not very politically correct anymore, but it's a sneak attack of the highest magnitude. We'll say that.
Yeah.
So that takes us to the next week's episode of Superstars, where President Jack Tunney appears on Superstars on July 30th, revealing that Randy Savage has suffered severe hyperextensions to his knee and has been advised to have surgery that would put him out of action for 8 to 12 weeks. However, this would make it impossible for Randy Savage to fulfill the requirement of the WWF champion to defend the title at least once every 30 days. And it almost sounds like Randy's going to give up this title. What's going to happen? However, Macho Man Randy Savage has defied doctor's orders and will not miss time. He has also demanded that provided he is still the WWF champion through his contractually obligated title defenses before then, that he defends the WWF championship against Ric Flair at SummerSlam, August 29th, 1988. So the match is on. The match is on. Ric Flair hasn't even made his in-ring debut yet. He's starting to wrestle on the house shows, but not on TV. That happens on August 13th, 1988. Ric Flair makes his televised WWF debut on an episode of Wrestling Challenge, and it's a little bit of a wink and a nod to people who know because they don't.
I don't know if I got disconnected or if BP got disconnected.
Are we back?
I hear you.
Okay, yeah, my internet dropped for some reason there for a second.
Whew, I thought it was me. All right, you're good. You're good.
No, that was me. So I don't know how much of that was heard, but we don't have to make a big deal out of this. But
you said a wink and a nod is the last thing we heard.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't have to broadcast the real thing because the people who know. Ric Flair's opponent on Wrestling Challenge August 13th is Leapin' Lanny Poffo, who is the brother of the Macho Man Randy Savage. And Ric Flair gets the win, and he continues to attack Lanny Poffo's leg mercilessly after the match. Yeah, no Mega Powers versus Mega Bucks. Things have got to change here. Some memorable things, some things that are burned into my they don't. If Ric Flair jumps, they don't happen.
Yeah.
Like they don't happen. Like this might not even be as good as what actually happened. This is a what if. What ifs can go bad.
Yeah.
What alternate history doesn't have to be better history? What else can go bad? So Ric Flair is decimating Lanny Poffo. Randy Savage hobble runs out to the ring with a crutch and chases Ric Flair off. Ric Flair takes a powder as soon as Randy Savage gets in that ring. So that takes us to August 29th. That takes us to SummerSlam. We have a double main event for SummerSlam. Part one of the double main event. He hasn't been around for a while. He's, wink, wink, been filming No Holds Barred. Hulk Hogan defeats the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase in the first half of a double main event. In the main event, it's Randy Savage, and he's got Elizabeth in his corner, but Ric Flair has got Bobby Heenan in his corner and the Giant. He's got Andre in his corner, and he's injured. He's fighting on one leg. The odds are stacked against Randy Savage right now. And he valiantly fights for that leg injury. He's fighting through the interference of Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant. Bobby Heenan, though, at the very end, he can sense this slipping through Ric Flair's fingers, so he distracts referee Joey Marella. And Flair, while the referee's back is turned, pushes Randy Savage right into Marella. Morella's out, which leads to the Giant coming in the ring. Ric Flair holds back the Macho Man as Andre the Giant comes in with a big giant club. Savage gets out of the way at the very last second, and Ric Flair gets laid out. And here comes Hulk Hogan to save the day. Hulk Hogan chases Andre off with a chair. Joey Marella's starting to come too. And it's hard, but Randy Savage on one leg fights his way to that top rope, delivers that flying elbow. 1, 2, 3. He beats Ric Flair right in the middle.
Wow.
Randy Savage retains.
Oh, might have had a drop again. So yeah, give me 1 second. We'll see if BP pops back in. But as of right now, Ric Flair in his debut at SummerSlam is gonna take the fall, which is crazy. I wonder if that has anything to do with old school Vince McMahon, where you were made big somewhere else, but you weren't made big here, and we're gonna put over our guys. So maybe a little bit of that. We'll definitely ask BP once his connection comes back here. But man, what a match would that be? I could vision in my head of Flair working the figure four, and maybe he's reaching his arms back and the Giant's grabbing him and giving him more leverage, and the referee and Bobby, just all the chicanery that's going on with it. Miss Elizabeth can't do anything about it, and Flair is just doing his thing. You know what I mean? Just kind of light cheating and stealing with the powerhouse team of Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant, which would be I don't know. In my brain, when he was telling the match, I was really, really thinking of all those scenarios of how that would have went down. I think he is back though. Let's bring him back in.
When you play around with time travel,
yeah,
things can happen.
Yeah, your internet's messing up.
They didn't have the internet like this in 19. They didn't have high-speed internet. They didn't have StreamYard. And it's my internet. It's actually my computer. My computer's a piece of garbage.
Mine's getting really hot too.
Yeah.
But what I was kind of saying is this McMahon saying you weren't made the WWE? WWE guy gets over because he's been made here.
It is. It's not time yet. You're not going to win the title the first night in the company. Let's stretch it out a little bit. Let's see where we're going with this.
Money's in the chase, brother.
Well, I mean, the money's in the chase when the babyface or the heel's the champion. But WWF, you have to remember, at this point in 1988, the only heel that has been the WWF champion or the WWF champion for longer than like 3 weeks is superstar Billy Graham.
It's a very babyface company.
It's a babyface territory, yeah. So a babyface champion is kind of the rule of the day.
Yeah, and I was kind of saying in the chat, I could see the entire match of people, Flair slapping in figure fours, really working the leg, being super technical. Bobby's distracted in the corner, and Andre's reaching and grabbing Flair, giving him leverage to make the figure four stronger. Like all those scenarios of how that match will play, that was all in my brain. But yeah, 1, 2, 3. Flair's looking up at the lights. Macho Man's the champion. Pick it up back up there.
But Macho Man's still hot. Macho Man still wants a piece of Ric Flair because Ric Flair went after him. Maybe we even do throw in, you went after my brother. We didn't want to mention that, but you went after my brother. So on the house show loop, we're still going to do Ric Flair and Randy Savage. And on that house show loop, Ric Flair is going to win a lot of those matches by countout. So he's going to win, but he's not going to win the title. And he's going to call in some backup. He's not alone anymore. He's not just him and Bobby. Because on the October 15th episode of Superstars, Ric Flair says, I brought in some people I can trust. Macho Man, you got Hogan. I got Bobby. I got the Giant. But I got two guys I'll ride with any day of the week. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. the Brain Busters. And this is around the time they actually
debuted. Is this the WWF version of the Four Horsemen?
It may be.
Uh-oh.
They jumped anyway. They would probably jump quicker if Flair's there. So Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard are there. And the next week on Wrestling Challenge, they won a squash. They beat, in honor of the next PPW show, July 13th, Sons of the Patriots, they beat Dwayne Gill and Barry Hardy.
All right.
Yeah, they beat Dwayne Gill and Barry Hardy on Superstars. So on October 29th, another episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, because that's where a lot of your big matches happen, a lot of your big angles here. And we're gonna have a doozy of an angle on October 29th. Because we're gonna have the original main event of the first SummerSlam on Saturday Night's Main Event. It's Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan against Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. And Savage and Hogan, the Mega Powers, beat the Mega Bucks just like it happened at SummerSlam. But Elizabeth's not going to throw her skirt at them. Andre is going to get in, or Ric Flair is going to get involved this time, but his interference is going to backfire on Andre, and Andre is going to get counted out of the ring. Post-match, Flair, DiBiase, and Heenan are fuming, and they're not going to blame themselves. They're blaming the Giant. They're tearing down the Giant. It's your fault. If it wasn't for you, Ric Flair would be the WWF champion right now, and you can't even get back in the ring. You're a washed-up Giant, and it's a 5-on-1 attack. Flair, DiBiase, Anderson, Blanchard, and Heenan all beating down the Giant. The Giant has met his match. He's a Giant, but he can't withstand 5-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
But who's more forgiving than the Hulkster? Who's more forgiving than Hulk Hogan? Despite all that's happened over the last 2 years since WrestleMania 3, he's going to come in and save the Giant. And we get a tearful reunion. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant are on the same side again.
He does love him still.
He's been broken free of Bobby Heenan's spell. He's the smiling, friendly Giant again.
He's Princess Bride Giant.
He's Fezzik. Yes, he's Fezzik. Yeah. Later that night, though, the Brainbusters are in action, and they do defeat the British Bulldogs. And this will take us to Thanksgiving night, the 1988 Survivor Series. And our main event is a big one. It's a big one. This is back when the Survivor Series matches were 5-on-5, which they brought it back to that recently. So on one side of the ring here, we've got the team of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Jake the Snake Roberts. That's on one side of the Survivor Series. And on the other side, it's Ric Flair, the Brainbusters, Ted DiBiase, and Ravishing Rick Rude.
Oh,
that's the main event. That's a main event. So the first elimination is a bit of a shock. Andre the Giant's the first one out. Bobby Heenan is taunting him, pulling at his feet, just getting under the Giant's skin as much as he can, to the point where Andre's had enough. He bails out of the ring and he chases Bobby Heenan in the back, but he gets counted out. Bobby Heenan outsmarted the Giant. The Brain outsmarted the Giant. He's eliminated by the Brain. And it gets worse for our heroes here because,
I mean, Giant really can't go along at this point, you know?
No, and that's part of what we're doing here. We're protecting Andre. He's not getting pinned. He's losing by count out. He's not being asked to do, that's part of the reason that you change the SummerSlam thing is Andre doesn't have to wrestle at that point. He's just standing on the outside. So it gets worse for the good guys. Spike Piledriver on Brutus the Barber Beefcake. He's out. The Brainbusters eliminate Beefcake. It gets even worse. Ric Flair rolls up Jake the Snake with a schoolboy, puts his feet up on that second rope. 1, 2, 3. It is now Hogan and Savage against all 5 of the other team. It is 5-on-2 right now. But not for long. Not for long. The Mega Powers are down, but they're not out. Randy Savage is in there with Arn Anderson, takes him out with the flying elbow. Hulk Hogan cuts it down even further. Big boot, leg drop to Rick Rude. It's done. It is done. So now it's just 3-on-2. It's Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and Ted DiBiase against the Mega Powers. And Bobby Heenan came back. He must have lost the Giant somewhere in the back. The Giant can't run for too long. Bobby Heenan's a little quicker than the Giants. He was able to sneak his way back to the ring. And he distracts Hulk Hogan long enough for Ric Flair to pull that international object out of his tights. Or no, I'm sorry, he's distracting the official, not Hogan. Long enough for Ric Flair to pull that international object out of his tights. Flair goes to wallop Hogan with it. Hogan blocks the shot, takes the foreign object off, puts it on his own hand, clocks Ric Flair. But it was just in time for the referee to see it, and Hulk Hogan is disqualified. Hulk Hogan is out.
Yeah, he can't get pinned.
No, Hogan will not get pinned. No. So now we are down to 3-on-1. It is Randy Savage by himself against Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and Ted DiBiase. But Ric Flair is basically dead. But Randy Savage is arguing with the referee that, excuse me.
You're good.
Randy Savage is busy arguing with the referee that Ric Flair used the foreign object, Hogan stopped him. But it's all in vain. And Randy Savage is really wasting his time because as he's doing this, Blanchard and DiBiase, devious as they are, pull Ric Flair into their corner. He's still knocked out from that foreign object shot, but they tag Ric Flair out. He's just laying on the apron.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be DiBiase in there. DiBiase and Savage mix it up for a little bit. DiBiase slaps on that $1 Million Dream. But if you've ever seen Roddy Piper and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8, Savage does the Bret Hart move here, where he walks up the turnbuckle and jumps back into a pinning combination and pins DiBiase. Blanchard's in now, and you can tell Savage is getting a little long in the tooth here. Having the odds against him this whole match is starting to take its toll.
Is the
on
leg
Macho
100%?
Man. No, the leg's fine now. Yeah, this is now September, or this is now November. That was in July. That the leg is okay now, to a degree. Like Ric Flair's been working it over through the match. They always want to set it up. You're gonna have sound psychology in a match with Ric Flair, Ted DiBiase, and Tully Blanchard in it.
Yeah, he's re-aggravating the old injury.
Yeah, but no, he's just being worn down. He's being worn down because he's having to fight 3 people at once. And before that, it was 2-on-5. So Savage is fighting a valiant fight, but he's starting to wear down here. But not quite yet. Not quite yet. Tully Blanchard gets slammed right in the middle, flying elbow, 1, 2, 3. We are down to Ric Flair and Randy Savage at SummerSlam all over again. But Ric Flair is recovered now, and he's not even going to give Savage a second. As soon as that referee hits the mat for 3, Ric Flair is hitting Savage with that double axe handle. Would have been a save if he was a second quicker, but he gets the pin on Blanchard. But he doesn't get much farther because Ric Flair is dominating, slaps on the figure 4 very quickly. Randy Savage doesn't give up, but he passes out. His shoulders are down for the 1, 2, 3, which is actually how Flair beats him in 91 when he wins the title back.
Yeah.
So your sole survivor at the Survivor Series is the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
And he just beat the champ.
He just beat the champ. He just pinned the champ 1, 2, 3 in the middle. So now we're going to go to Saturday Night's Main Event, November 26th. And these are real dates. They really do Saturday Night's Main Events these days. Well, these are when they aired.
Yeah, this is what happens in this reality.
Yeah. So Saturday Night's Main Event sees Ric Flair defeat Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We also see the Mega Powers beat the Brainbusters. And on January 7th version of Saturday Night's Main Event, we have a live, and obviously they're going to have other things going on, but these are the big beats.
Yeah.
These are the big beats. And on January 7th, Saturday Night's Main Event, we have an episode of the Brother Love Show where Ric Flair declares himself eligible for the Royal Rumble. And Bobby Heenan welcomes back the real giant of the WWF, Big John Studd. We're just flipping it on the side here. Big John Studd's a heel again. So later on that night, we have Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and Andre the Giant teaming up in a 6-man tag to beat Ted DiBiase and the Twin Towers. But after that match, the heels are joined by Flair, the Brainbusters, and Rick Rude for a beatdown. But the Ultimate Warrior makes the save. Enter the Ultimate Warrior. We have a few more pieces on the chessboard now. And it's good because we're going to need a lot of people right now because the next thing is the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
The 1989 Royal Rumble, the first one on pay-per-view. In the real world, number 1 and number 2 are Demolition. But in our world, number 1 is Andre the Giant, and number 2 is Big John Studd. And they go at it back and forth for about 90 seconds, which is about as long as they can go. And then number 3 is Arn Anderson, and number 4 is Tully Blanchard. And
so you're almost booking this Rumble more modernish, where there's actually thought to the storylines, or it's not so much. There's story beats within the Rumble, because in the old Rumbles they didn't really care about other story beats.
Well, they did, like Axe and Smash being 1 and 2 was a story beat.
Yeah.
They would set things up back then. The same guy was booking it back. Well, no, Pat Patterson was booking it back then. But what's happening here is, okay, Andre's number 1, but then it's Studd, Anderson, Blanchard. And Gorilla Monsoon is saying, I forget who he did commentary with on this show for real. Let's just say it was Jesse Ventura. Jess, I smell a rat. I smell a rat right now. He accuses Ted DiBiase of paying off the person in charge of drawing the numbers because they stacked the deck against the Giant here. And it works. They combine to toss Andre the Giant's the first elimination of the Royal Rumble. And Anderson, Blanchard, and Stud kind of dominate the early run here, but Demolition worked his way in. Jake the Snake works his way in. Jake chases Big John Studd off with Damian, not Andre this time. He chases Big John Studd off with Damian. And that rigged draw suspicion is confirmed later when number 29 in the Royal Rumble is Ric Flair and number 30 is Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase clearly paid somebody off here. Ted DiBiase was cooking those numbers. And so we have a really good final five here. The final five in the Royal Rumble: Ric Flair, Ted DiBiase, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Ravishing Rick Rude. That's your final five. And a Mega Powers double clothesline sends Ted DiBiase out. Hogan appears to dump Flair after a big boot sends Ric Flair reeling over the top, but he turns around to celebrate and pose and play to the Hulkamaniacs. Doesn't realize Flair was able to control his landing a little bit, landed on the apron first, and kind of slid out of the ring, but he kept 1 foot in the air. And you can very clearly see it if you're looking from the right angle, that Ric Flair only has 1 foot on the ground, but that other foot's up in the air. He didn't skin the cat. I don't know if Rick's that athletic. He's not Shawn Michaels, but he's keeping 1 foot in the air. Meanwhile, Rick Rude has done something very interesting in the Royal Rumble. He has pulled his tights down, and he has another set of tights under those tights, and airbrushed on the front of those tights is Miss Elizabeth.
Oh.
And Randy Savage goes nuclear. Clotheslines Rick Rude over the top. He's fuming. He's trying to, you can tell he wants to get it Rude, but he knows it's the Royal Rumble. He wants to stay in the match. While his back is turned, Hulk Hogan thinks he's got one guy left to eliminate. Hulk Hogan dumps the Macho Man. And Hulk Hogan thinks he's won it. He's celebrating. He's posing. Real American is playing Hogan Must Pose. Not tonight. Not tonight, because the Nature Boy rolls back in and dumps Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair wins the 1989 Royal Rumble. So now we got to look at the track record here.
That's probably the most realistic finish for Macho Man in a Royal Rumble. He's notoriously terrible at them.
Yeah, he's eliminated himself, and he tried to pin a guy. He doesn't quite understand how a Royal Rumble works.
No, he's awful at Royal Rumble.
He's a little hot here. He's hot at Rude. He's a little hot because it's again, we were taking beats because that's what happened with Jake's wife, but we're doing it with and we might have still done that, but we're doing it with Elizabeth too. He's doing it again because he knows how it's going to drive Randy Savage insane. So Primetime Wrestling has a Coliseum video exclusive. So we are going to use Primetime Wrestling here. Coliseum video exclusive. The Coliseum video cameras are backstage after the Royal Rumble. And irate Randy Savage is inconsolable. Hulk Hogan goes to calm him down. He pushes Hogan away. Nobody's going to cool Randy Savage off right now. He wants Rick Rude. He wants him now. He wants Rick Rude. He wants him now. However, on Superstars, President Jack Tunney says Randy Savage is not going to get Rick Rude. Because he was the sole survivor at Survivor Series and he won the Royal Rumble on February 3rd, prime time, Friday night, February 3rd, live on NBC at 8 p.m., the main event. Ric Flair has earned another shot at the WWF title and will face the Macho Man Randy Savage. So the main event was like Saturday night's main event, but Saturday night's main event came on at 11:30. The main event came on at 8 o'clock. It was a primetime show. And when they did it the year before with Hogan and Andre, it's to this day the most watched match in the history of American wrestling. 33 million people watch that match.
Yeah.
Nothing comes close to it. Nothing comes close to it. So we run it back next year, and it's Ric Flair and Randy Savage for the WWF title. And it's another classic. It's Ric Flair and Randy Savage. But after Bobby Heenan distracts the referee from counting a Randy Savage pin, Hulk Hogan comes out to even the odds. But there's been so many shenanigans, so much chicanery with all these matches. The WWF officials have had enough of this. They've had enough. They're sick and tired of all the interference, all the meddling. And a bunch of the WWF officials, you know, your Tony Gurrias, your Rene Goulets, they're out there to calm things down. Chief J. Strongbow's out there. A few other people are out there. And they're making Hogan and Savage and even Elizabeth. Elizabeth didn't do anything, but we don't want anybody at the ring. So everybody's out. We're making everybody leave. It's going to be the 2 guys in the ring, and that's that. However, as they're being escorted out, one of the WWF officials, a blonde-haired man with glasses, throws something in the ring to Ric Flair. Foreign object, Ric Flair slides it on his fist while the referee in the match is too busy paying attention to getting Hogan and everybody else out there. Ric Flair slides that foreign object on his hand, clocks Randy Savage, slaps on the figure 4. Randy Savage is out from that foreign object. It's an easy 1, 2, 3. Ric Flair is the new WWF champion. And we go to commercial with the crowd in shock. So they're back at the commercial break. Mean Gene Okerlund is in the ring interviewing Ric Flair, who's now flanked by the Brainbusters. In a rare live appearance, he was always on tape, but this is the main event. This is a big show. There's probably 20 million people watching this. It's going to be the most watched thing on TV this night. Jack Tunney is seen in the aisleway admonishing that official that helped Flair, that threw something to Ric Flair. He's like, I saw it with my own 2 eyes. What's your deal? Ric Flair calls the man in the ring, that official with the glasses and the blonde hair. He calls him in the ring. And this is a guy that really came to the WWF around this time. So we're not playing too much with with reality here. This is a guy who was really worked for the WWF at this point. Ric Flair grabs the microphone from Gene Okerlund and says, the Brain has been a great friend to Ric Flair since I stepped foot here in the WWF, but we've agreed to amicably part ways. Bobby, thank you for everything you've done. But this man right here is my right-hand man, my inside man, my main man. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and James J. Dillon are riding again. Can't call them the Horsemen, but you can say we're riding again.
Yeah.
You can say we're riding again. Hulk Hogan emerges from the aisle, walks right past Randy Savage. Randy Savage is being escorted to the back. But the officials that are out there, the people who are trying to push everybody back, they're going to really try to keep Hogan back right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we take it to Superstars, February 11th, 8 days later. In an update with Mean Gene Okerlund, it's announced that the biggest main event in the history of professional wrestling has been signed. For the first time ever, 1-on-1, WrestleMania 5, Ric Flair defends his WWF title against Hulk Hogan.
Hell
WrestleMania 5. I mean, the Mega Powers don't explode, but it's going to be Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan because you got to do it. If you have Ric Flair, you have Hulk Hogan. Well, he didn't do it in 3 years from now, but here we're going to do it. Due to his conduct at the main event, James J. Dillon has been fired as a WWF official, but prior to that event, he had set up a manager's license for himself. And he's done a few more things that we're going to find out about. So we have one more Saturday night's main event before WrestleMania 5. We have February 16th, Ric Flair defeats Jake the Snake Roberts in his first defense of the WWF title. The Mega Powers beat the Brainbusters by DQ when Rick Rude interferes. And in a face-to-face interview later that night, J.J. Dillon reveals that while he was working as a WWF official, he found out that Elizabeth's manager's license has lapsed. And that red tape would make sure she'll probably be able to get it back, but not before WrestleMania 5. So if you think you're going to be in the Hulkster's corner, if you think you're going to be in the Macho Man's corner, think again, because you're out of here. No Elizabeth. Elizabeth is out.
Oh, no. So
that takes us to WrestleMania 5. Now we're at WrestleMania 5, and some things have been shuffled around here. So here we're going to have the instead of Strikeforce, the Brainbusters are going to defeat the Rockers because they had some great matches in 1989. If you ever seen them, look up old Saturday Night's main events with the Brainbusters and the Rockers. Those are some good matches.
Yeah.
Andre the Giant and Jake Roberts, instead of being against each other, they're going to team. They're going to team up and take down King Haku and Big John Studd. For the Intercontinental title, if you remember, we covered WrestleMania 5 not that long ago. It was Bobby Heenan pulling the Ultimate Warrior's leg out on that suplex, and Rick Rude takes the pin. It's the same finish, but a little different. Virgil pulls the foot out from under the Ultimate Warrior. Ted DiBiase lands on him. 1, 2, 3. A guy who never won a singles title in the WWF. The North American title way back when, but this incarnation of Ted DiBiase is your new Intercontinental Champion.
Okay, I love that.
In a bit of a grudge match, the Macho Man Randy Savage defeats Ravishing Rick Rude. However, after he beats him clean 1, 2, 3 with that flying elbow, he's not done. He drops a few more elbows. Officials are flying out. He is going nuts, though. Savage has snapped. He's just dropping elbow after elbow after elbow. He's gonna grab the bell. We're calling back to Ricky Steamboat when he dropped the bell across Ricky Steamboat's throat. He does that. Rick Rude is just gagging and choking. He is in bad shape. And
Savage has went Savage.
Yeah, and it's to the point where they reverse the decision and Rick Rude wins by disqualification. They reverse the decision because of all the aftermath. And then we have our main event, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Elizabeth's banned from ringside, but J.J. Dillon's there. And there's some chicanery. There's some chicanery. But we're going to call back to WrestleMania 4. Let's look back to what happened at WrestleMania 4, and this hasn't changed because we started after this.
Mm-hmm.
It's WrestleMania 4. It's Savage and DiBiase in the finals of the tournament, and Virgil and Andre are just cheating, and there's nothing Savage can do about it. And so Hulk Hogan comes down, and while the referee is distracted and Macho Man is locked in that $1 million dream, Hogan comes in and cracks DiBiase in the back with a chair, and that leads to Savage winning the title. Randy Savage is back to return that favor because Hulk Hogan is dealing with nothing but cheating. J.J. Dillon's getting involved. The Brainbusters came down for a little bit, and he chases them off because Savage chases them off with a chair. Chases J.J. Dillon. He's chasing J.J. Dillon around with a chair to the point where the referee is getting out there to intervene. Meanwhile, in the ring, Hulk Hogan is in trouble. Hulk Hogan's in the figure 4 leg lock. And Randy Savage, as the referee is tied up with J.J. Dillon, slides into that ring, lifts up that chair, and puts it right in Hulk Hogan's face. Right in Hulk Hogan's face. Slides out. The crowd is silent. Referee slides back in. 1, 2, 3. Ric Flair has beaten Hulk Hogan, has retained the WWF title. And nobody can believe it. Everybody is stunned in the silence.
I hear. What about this? Hold on. I don't want to mess with history here.
Okay.
Savage climbs to the top. Flair's locked in. Either he releases it or he eats an elbow. Savage jumps off the top rope and plants the elbow on Hogan.
You could do that too. The chair is more of a callback to WrestleMania
because
4,
later
but you
on,
can do that too.
Hogan, if time still goes the way, actually there is no Hogan becoming the thing, but Hogan drops the leg drop on Savage to reveal he's the 4th man. This is like kind of Savage drops the elbow,
but we don't
the 4th man.
Well, not necessarily. We're not really going to know for a while why Randy Savage did what he did because the superstars after WrestleMania 5, Jack Tunney says that due to his actions against Rick Rude and Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man Randy Savage has been suspended from the World Wrestling Federation indefinitely. May 27th. So we're going a little while here. And Hulk Hogan is saying, Randy Savage, when I get my hands on you, Ric Flair, when I get my hands on you. And we're doing Hogan and Flair now in the house show loop, and Hogan's winning by DQ pretty much every night.
Yeah.
So Saturday night's main event, we have a bit of an interesting title match. Ric Flair's defending that WWF title against the former Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior. Poor Rick, but okay. So that's going to end in a DQ when the Brainbusters jump in, and it's a 3-on-1 on the Warrior. But who makes the save? Not Hulk Hogan. Somebody else making their debut. Somebody knows Ric Flair very, very well. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, comes in and saves the Ultimate Warrior from Ric Flair. We have an interview a little bit later with Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan reveals that he has urged Jack Tunney, and he's finally got Jack Tunney to unsuspend Randy Savage.
Is Dusty's still in polka dots, all right?
Yeah.
He's still.
It's not
that
a rib.
doesn't change.
It's not a rib. He is Randy Savage has been unsuspended, and Hulkamania is going to run wild on him. But Ric Flair comes out. He's like, "Did you forget about me, big man? Did you forget about the champ? Did you forget about the man who beat you 1, 2, 3 at WrestleMania 5?" And as Ric Flair is distracting Hogan, we have to still tie some reality into this. And one of the big things they're pushing here is no holds barred. So as this distraction is being made, we're phasing out Big John Studd because he didn't last long for real. But as Ric Flair is laying in this distraction, Zeus, the human wrecking machine, attacks Hulk Hogan from behind and lays him out. And in Superstars, we kind of finally hear from Randy Savage here. We've been wondering ever since WrestleMania 5, almost 2 months, why? Why, Macho Man, why? He lays it out. let's go back to Survivor Series. Hulk Hogan and me are against the world, and Hulk Hogan has to take that foreign object. He couldn't just throw that foreign object out. He has to hit Ric Flair with it, gets himself disqualified, leaves me 3-on-1. Hulk Hogan. I forgot a beat here. I'm so sorry. One of the things that should have happened before WrestleMania 5, I forgot to put in my notes. Hulk Hogan does a promo where he talks about how Elizabeth is my manager. Elizabeth is always in my corner. How dare you take that from me, J.J. Dillon? That was a very important part I forgot to say. My apologies.
Yeah.
So we got to go back to the night I lost that title. The only reason J.J. Dillon got near that ring was because you had to stick your nose where it didn't belong, Hulk Hogan. You had to stick your nose in the Macho Man's business. So I stuck my nose in yours. And then J.J. Dillon got involved, and he got Elizabeth's manager's license revoked. He took Elizabeth away from me. I had to defend Elizabeth's honor against Rick Rude, and she couldn't even be there with me because of you, Hulk Hogan. Because of you. And then you have the audacity to say she's always in your corner. She'll never be in your corner again, Hulk Hogan. So Randy Savage, again, is right. Like always, Randy Savage is right.
He's correct.
And Hulk Hogan had lust in his eyes, as always.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Does he still touch her butt at any point?
No.
Oh.
Maybe. Probably.
Maybe. But yeah, he still touched her butt a little bit.
Probably.
Yeah.
So what we have now is we have the Saturday Night's Main Event from July 29th, where just like in real life, the Brainbusters defeat Demolition to win the WWF Tag Team titles. Randy Savage, and this didn't happen on the show, but it did happen, defeats Jim Duggan to become the king of the WWF, the Macho King Randy Savage, and that's when we unveil Queen Sherry as well. Because Elizabeth is gone. Elizabeth went home. You know, I took Elizabeth's manager's license and I ripped it up, Macho Man says. You'll never see her again. And if you want to blame somebody for that, blame Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm. So
we go to SummerSlam 1989, where the Ultimate Warrior regains the Intercontinental title from Ted DiBiase. And in our main event, before it was if you go back to the real thing, it was Randy Savage and Zeus against Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake. I think we made this a little better. It's Hulk Hogan and Dusty Rhodes defeating Randy Savage and Ric Flair in the main event of SummerSlam 1989.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a little fun thing because that's what they did. They did tag team main events back then. That takes us to Superstars and the Brother Love Show. Ric Flair says, my little group is back together because I got one more associate, the Widowmaker, Barry Windham. So now we got Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham, and James J. Dillon. And that's a
so we're not even giving an alternate version of the Horsemen?
No, they're all here.
All right.
They're all here. Why mess with it?
If it ain't broken, we'll fix it. All right.
We can't call them the Horsemen, but they're the Horsemen.
I thought Savage was joining. I thought you had me.
No, Savage is a lone wolf now. Savage is nuts. Savage is a very tenuous alliance with Ric Flair. He still hates Rick Rude's guts. But Randy
Is he
Savage,
dressing different? Is he looking different?
Well, he's doing the Macho King thing. He switched to the purple tights. He's got the Macho King crown. He's still full Macho King. So we have a few different things going on in Survivor Series. At this point, Savage, DiBiase, and the Powers of Pain face the Ultimate Warrior, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Demolition. Because this is where we have to kind of do a few things that we didn't really do, and this is where we kind of got to merge with reality a little bit. So DiBiase and the Powers of Pain are the first three out. So it's a callback to last year's Survivor Series. It's Randy Savage now on a 4-on-1 against Warrior, Duggan, and Demolition. And instead of standing tall and fighting, Savage is like, screw this. And he just gets himself counted out. It's like, I don't need this. I'm out of here. And then our main event, we have the not Horsemen, we'll call them, not the Horsemen, of Ric Flair, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard with J.J. Dillon.
Stablemates. That sounds like a WWE name. They're the Stablemates.
The stable.
Stable.
They're up against
the jockeys.
they don't like the word stable. They like faction. They like faction there. Well, this is 88. They weren't as crazy about words back then. But they're against an interesting team. The team across from the not Horsemen is a team of Hulk Hogan, Dusty Rhodes, Rowdy Roddy Piper, and Andre the Giant. That's an interesting team.
That is a fun team.
And when the dust settles, Hulk Hogan drops that leg on Ric Flair and finally beats him 1-2-3 for the first time. And he's the sole survivor. And it gets worse because at the 1990 Royal Rumble, Hulk Hogan defeats Ric Flair for the WWF title. Hulk Hogan wins it at the Rumble. We're not going to do back-to-back Mania main events. They didn't really do that back then.
Yeah.
Later that night, though, the Ultimate Warrior wins the Royal Rumble, last eliminating Randy Savage, because you can't have Randy. I originally had Randy Savage win the Royal Rumble, but you can't have that. It's Randy Savage and it's a Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
he doesn't understand how they work.
Yeah, he probably jumped out again or something.
So then that takes us to a Saturday night's main event where Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior defeat Ric Flair and Randy Savage, and there's a big fracas afterward, and they kind of bump into one another, and they have that showdown. We're not messing with the WrestleMania 6 main event. So WrestleMania 6, this is where we start to reintroduce now WCW. So at this point, this is probably where Vince is going to say, Rick, we're going to move you down the card a little bit. Rick probably is not going to be a big fan of that. This could be around the time, this is a little after the time, Tully failed a drug test. Barry Windham didn't last very long in the WWF because of some issues where his family was getting in trouble for counterfeiting. So WCW, Ted Turner eventually does buy them because he realizes if I don't buy them, even without Ric Flair, especially without Ric Flair, I'm not going to have a wrestling show at 6:05 on Saturdays anymore. So Turner buys WCW and does a little bit of tampering. He's like, Rick, whatever you want, I need you back. And Rick knows, like, okay, I've had my run with Hogan. It's probably not going to be anywhere from here. I'm probably going to be losing to Jim Duggan in a month.
Yep.
So
it's Hogan's company, and I'm just living in it.
Yeah, I had my run. I got to beat Hogan at WrestleMania. That's as good as anything.
He's back from making movies, and I'm out. I'm not gonna have the same spotlight.
Yeah. So Rick is like, yeah, I think it's time for us to go. So at WrestleMania 6, Demolition regains the WWF Tag Team titles from the Brainbusters. The Ultimate Warrior defeats Rick Rude. Oh, I'm sorry, that does not happen. Randy Savage defeats Dusty Rhodes. Roddy Piper defeats Ric Flair. And the Ultimate Warrior, just like it happened in real life, defeats Hulk Hogan. The Ultimate Warrior defeats Hulk Hogan. So that takes us to that's kind of where I stopped planning it out, but I kind of wanted to stretch it to SummerSlam, and this is all kind of going to be freestyled because after this, Hulk Hogan goes to make Suburban Commando. That's one of the reasons he dropped the title. And instead of Earthquake injuring the Macho Man, because if you remember, Earthquake kind of had a program with the Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Earthquake kind of had a program like that was his debut, was beating up the Warrior. So we're going to stretch that out a little bit. Randy Savage is going to be the one that injures Hulk Hogan. He's going to hit him in the throat with that scepter. He's on the Brother Love show, maybe, or just in an interview, and he's going to put Hulk Hogan out. He's going to put Hulk Hogan out with a fractured larynx, we'll say. So SummerSlam 90 kind of goes as it happened. But instead of the double main event being Hulk Hogan against Earthquake and then Warrior and Earthquake, or Warrior and Rude in a cage, it's going to be Warrior and Earthquake in a cage where Warrior retains the WWF title. And finally, after all this build, we finally get one-on-one Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, it's happened at a ton of house shows at this point. Like a lot of that time, like Hogan, if he wasn't wrestling Flair at a house show, he was wrestling Savage. But we finally get Hulk Hogan's return match. The Mega Powers explode, but it's SummerSlam 90. It happens a year and a half later. And you know what they say, Hogan must pose. So unfortunately for the Macho Man, Hulk's winning that one because we can't stray too far from what would really happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome, man. That was a lot of fun.
That is Ric Flair in the WWF in 1989.
Yeah, he had a short little run there. Had some good moments.
88 to 90, yeah, which was like his real run was 91 to 93, so it kind of fits.
Yeah. Now, does he return again in 91, 93, or does he just stay there?
No, at that point, he'll probably be in WCW.
Yeah.
You could do a whole sequel to this with what happens in WCW at the time, but I knew this was going to take up a whole chunk of time, so we mainly focus on the Flair side of it.
Rick 71 gives the nod of approval. Now, Rick sent us an email about possibly joining us for one of these, or gave us some ideas for some episodes in the future. This is something that I believe Rick used to do on his on one of his channels. He used to do some what if style stuff. So when he heard about us doing it, he was really, really excited. So he gave us the nod of approval, which is super cool. Yes. Anyone else in the chat? What did you think of this first episode of What If, and what are some ideas you want to see in the future? Put them in the comment section. Let us know. and we'll maybe cook them up.
I got my
know
work
we
cut out
have
for me for the next one.
the 95 rum King of the
how
Ring.
how to make King of the Ring 1995 good. I'm not a miracle worker.
I mean, if you look at the bracket, there's things you can do.
Look again at that bottom half of the bracket and tell me
the
Roadie and Savio Vega and Sparky Plug and well, we'll see what we do.
You might have to change the bracket. Who knows?
I never said we would have the same bracket. I never said that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how Sean wins this.
Well, he didn't lose.
That's right.
Shock of shock. He didn't lose.
Lily says, "What if Roman Reigns fought for his title?"
I mean, what if he defended his title?
Yeah, what if he defended his title? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I worked in that thing about the 30-day, thing. That was like an open joke because Hulk Hogan regularly did not defend. After he beat Macho Man, he regularly did not defend it every 30 days.
Actually, thank you for reminding me. That one we'll probably do on a Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think June 29th I have anything going on. So yeah,
that might be a Saturday or maybe even a Friday night. We'll figure something out, but we'll definitely we won't be colliding with Forbidden Door.
That's a good one.
Hulk Hogan doesn't jump from AWA to WF and WCW. Who does Vince use? We kind of teased about this. There was the rumors.
Kerry wasn't jumping.
Yeah. What if Kerry jumps?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get morbid with it. I want to do like, what if David doesn't die? That's too morbid. That's just a little too morbid. But,
yeah. One of the ones that someone told me on my Discord is like, what if you rebook Benoit? It's like, we're not touching stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, what if? I'm trying to think who they would even use. Like, I mean, there were enough people out there, but like for a while, Sergeant Slaughter was running neck and neck with Hogan.
What about the dude who Hogan stole everything from anyway? We were watching old
Austin Idol.
Austin Idol, yeah.
It wouldn't have worked because Austin Idol, he didn't like to fly. He was in a very bad plane crash when he was. I think it was when he was in Florida, and he would not have worked the WWF schedule. That's one of the big reasons he never went there.
Yeah.
And also, he had a reputation for being a little bit of a carny.
Yeah.
I think it was him. But I think he was the guy that he won a battle royal, and as the prop in the battle royal was supposed to be like $5,000, they gave him one of those big oversized checks, like those novelty checks, and he convinced somebody to bank to cash it and then skip town.
What?
Yeah, because he probably wasn't making $5,000 in 6 months there. So he got them to cash the check for $5,000 and just skip town.
Oh man. Well, listen, that was a lot of fun. BP. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to get out?
Yeah. So I have some stuff going on. There is the PPW show that was last night. I can't think of the name of it now, but it used to. I think if you still go to @WatchOnPremiere on YouTube, it is. Slaughter was the first one that jumped to my mind as far as if they could get Dusty, that would be wonderful. What if WCW was still around? It's a weird thing because if it doesn't go out of business in 2001, there's a good chance it goes out of the business at some point between 2001 and now. Because even if Bischoff was able to buy it, there was no guarantee that it was going to be successful. Yeah, there was no guarantee. I mean,
it was ran by a bunch of stinking idiots.
Well, tell me when he's telling lies.
I just watched a clip of him saying that Triple H never had a good idea in his whole life, and he's a terrible promoter and a terrible booker.
He doesn't like him.
Oh, so when he's not being bitter, he's telling the truth.
Is he right about everything? No. Is he right about a lot of stuff? Yeah.
I'll give you that.
I do like Brett though because he's the only guy that will get you to stick up for Bill Goldberg. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg, I'm Team Goldberg.
My Fandom Wrestling is what Premier Wrestling is called now. If you go to My Fandom Wrestling on YouTube and you go to their live section, you get to see. You can join the about 1,000 people who have already watched PPW from last night.
Wow.
You might even see me on there for a little bit. I might have gotten involved in trying to separate some action that got a little out of control. If you go on PPW Entertainment's YouTube, you can see the first episode of Spark, which was our pregame show. That was a lot of fun to do. It was presented by our very good friends at Funk Brewing. If I can plug this little can here, an Illumination Brewing Company. There's that lemon shandy. We had that.
Love the beers.
They had a shandy sampler, and I didn't get my one of my broadcast colleagues hogged all the bomb pops, so I couldn't get to it.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of fun stuff there. PPW will be back if you're local on July 13th. Sons of the Patriots. We announced some fun matches last night. Clutch Adams is going to be challenging for Facade's PPW heavyweight title. Gilbert will be in action. He's going to be a special guest referee. That's going to be happening. A match I'm really excited for. Actually, I don't think we've officially announced that one yet. So I'm going to be.
I wonder if Gilbert and Andy Header bury the hatchet.
Well, Andy's going to be in the match. It's going to be Andy Header, Tom Mitchell, and Trace Parker against Sugar Dan and Los Toxicos. So I know Andy's a little nervous. I talked to Andy last night. He's a little nervous about, I have a history with that guy. I have a history with that guy.
He beat him.
Gilbert did beat him.
I'm not taking credit for old Tornado Tag here, but we booked that match. We made that joke. Gilbert's coming to PPW. We're like, he has to wrestle Andy. And the next and Andy's like, please God, no. And the next poster comes out, Gilbert versus Header. And I was like,
He had fun. Andy had a lot of fun with it.
He had a blast with it.
And I literally booked this match. So this one is on me.
Yeah. Imagine how the times have changed. We're talking about Gilbert and Header, and we booked it on a podcast, and now you're legit helping.
Now I literally booked the match. Yeah.
So it's amazing how far this podcast has come.
How things have changed. How things have changed.
Awesome, man. Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you made it this far and you're listening or anything, take a screenshot on your phone, post on social media, said, hey, I just listened to this episode, and give us a little review and tag us so people can come follow us on social media or on YouTube. Word of mouth is how we're going to grow here, everybody. So if you want more people to, this channel to grow, definitely do that. If you want to subscribe over on Patreon, you can. If you want to join the YouTube membership, you can. Tips and donations are always awesome. Or go grab some merchandise. Looking through the old hard drive, I found some old logos we might pop back in. I remember there's one with me and you as Vader and somebody else. So maybe we'll look at some of those logos and repop them in. Some cool old Tornado Tag ones. The old Tornado Tag. So if you go on my link tree and you look at the IWEP page in the bottom, which is my old content. If you go and look through, there's a Tornado Tag page for the old page. There's still an old Tornado Tag podcast wise, a link tree in it that you can, or TeePublic, you can buy some of the old logos. So definitely do that. Steven says perfectly, hit that like button, and let's keep growing here. Support is it can be monetarily done, or you can do it just by word of mouth. So let's keep this thing growing. We have a lot more content in the works coming up. I will be back tomorrow for a movie review. Right? I have to find the time to watch this. That's problematic. With Dante, probably going to do that tonight and get a little bit less sleep. But we're going to do Abigail with Dante James because I think I'm getting out of work pretty late tomorrow. So we're going to figure that out right away. But we'll get you guys out of here. See you guys next time. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We're gone. This is an ABJ podcast production. Join us. Would you kindly join us at the Cult of ABJ Discord community? We'll see you there. Join us.